I forgot myself for a moment. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Indika is unlike anything I have played. Alternating between photorealism and 8-bit graphics, it features one of the most miserable, intellectually deep stories I have ever played. This is a tale of a nun set in an alt history early 20th century Russia. It is a narrative-focused third-person puzzler featuring equal parts arthouse stylings and absurdity. It is unique and I think I loved it.
Hey. Are you alright? I'm sorry, can I take a look, please?
There's nothing to look at. Gotta give me an injection.
Oh my god. I'm afraid this will have to... If we don't amputate it, you won't survive the afternoon.
You start out as Indika, a nun living in a convent where everyone hates her. The game is primarily narrated by the voice inside her head. She believes it to be a demon, one that haunts her every waking moment and routinely causes her to lash out in reality. Indika is sent to a neighboring town to deliver a letter during a war-torn period of alt-Russian history. It is seemingly set between the late 19th and early 20th centuries, with towering architecture that mimics our own thought on a vastly larger scale. It is such a bizarre game, and it is something I love so much. Weird dreamlike sequences, 16-bit sections where you revisit Indika's past, the conversations you have with others, and the voices you hear in your head with the devil himself. Inspired by the great surrealist filmmakers like Yorgos Lanthimos, with a bleakness seen in the films of Darren Aronofsky, it blends reality with nightmares in an artistic way that will either confuse or consume you, depending on your openness to it. Whether you are into its style, it is hard to ignore the wonderful creativity on display. Indika follows a relatively linear path, where you go from place to place and solve a variety of puzzles that are never too difficult. Some are done through the narrative power of hearing the devil in your head, and by praying you can rearrange the world that your evil thoughts start to dismantle. The world around you starts to crumble, but your focus on God helps to bring it back together. There are other puzzles that require you to think a little outside the box, but rarely will you struggle as the focus is more on the story and the conversations around religion, God, and the way it can affect us in myriad of ways. The visuals are impressive, and while some environments are a bit dull, most of the detail and designs are pretty in their own bizarre way. The audio is also fantastic, with a soundtrack that does so much to elevate the weird nature of Indika, and some of the sound effects catch you off guard and leave you feeling uneasy every step of the way. There is a lot to enjoy about Indika, and when all of these ideas come together with its music and visuals, there are seldom games out there that are as inventive as this. The majority of Indika takes place from a third-person perspective. Whenever the game shifts to past events in Indika's life, things go full-on Celeste with heavily pixelated graphics on a 2D plane. Gameplay during the 3D segments is fine. You will mostly walk forward or hold the right bumper to run a climbs, and X interacts with objects. There is a decent variety of puzzles. Some are platforming while others are moving objects around in various ways. The 2D sections feature some light jumping puzzles, one where you ride around steam-powered motorbikes, and are a fun change of pace. In them, you'll learn about Indika's life and why she ended up in the convent. Everything is so bright, colorful, and happy in those scenes. Going back into the 3D, photorealistic world is a smack in the face, reminding you of the terrible life she now lives. I am not sure if the game has alternate endings, as there is a point system for leveling. The animations are good, though they did bug out a lot as characters got stuck on things in the environment. NPC pacing can be broken if you get in their way, and I had to restart a section 2 times to fix it. The environments are mostly frozen exteriors or industrial interiors. When you enter a town, things up in the imagination with gigantic bells towering hundreds of feet or fish the size of blue whales lined up by the hundreds as you walk around a gigantic cannery. Indika has some of the best, most natural voice acting I can remember in any game, let alone one with a smaller budget like this. The writing feels natural, with people coming to grips with how the reality of their situations. It is a lot of talking, and not the type you can or would want to skip. The gameplay is mostly mediocre. It is the talking that made me fall in deep, like with this one right away. Indika tells a dark tale about religion and its effects, and poses many questions to the player as they embark on both an adventure to deliver a letter and one of self-discovery. Puzzles may not be difficult, but they are constantly varied, and while gameplay is a little sluggish, there is a story that kept me hooked throughout. Too few developers take these kinds of risks anymore, so when they do and it pays off, it is great to see. It may not be perfect, but it is certainly one of the most enjoyable and creative games I have played all year. The moments where you play in a 16-bit art style are interesting as they delve into Indika's past and give you a backstory to the character. They can be a bit too easy, as can many of the puzzles in the game, but Indika is about bringing players into the story so deeply that it makes sense for the actual playing to be straightforward. Some of the traversing through different biomes feels monotonous at times. But despite these slower moments, there is a lot of sequences where the art plays with your mind, makes you ask certain questions about who Indika is, and what is really going on in this skewed reality. Indika is an odd, wonderful title. Mixing 3D photo-realistic art with 2D pixel graphics makes some bold choices. Excellent writing and voice acting helped carry mediocre gameplay and created an experience I will never forget.